Hey YouTube friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be an update video on our group subjects. This is kind of into the second semester now, and we have added a couple of things to this semester moving forward, and we've changed a couple of things. And I just want to share what we like and what we're using in this video, and this is for our group subjects. So I have a preschooler, a first and second grader, and we do all these things together. First up is history. We are using Beautiful Feet Books Early American History. We love this program. This works really well for all of my kids. So I have early elementary grades, and so the way Beautiful Feet Books does their literature program for history, it works so well. They use living books, and it really keeps the kids' attention, and mine as well, because honestly, I did not really think I was going to enjoy history because I never really liked history. History was always dry and boring for me, and the idea of teaching it to my kids was just a little bit horrifying because I didn't think I could bring anything to the table because I didn't have enjoyment in it. I learned what I had to and to get by, to get good grades, but not because I loved learning about history. This has changed things tremendously for me, and I can see that through my enthusiasm, my kids are really loving learning about history. So my original plan for this was to take the 2 years and gradually work our way through history with them for this early elementary, but we will definitely be done sooner than I thought. So we are liking it that much. We are on lesson 28. We started it a little bit later because we do a Plymouth Plantation visit and a whole unit on pilgrims at the beginning of the fall, around November or so, but we got back into it and we're continuing on and we're loving it. My kids' favorite part of this has been the journaling and the actually all of it, the living books, and the dramatizations on CD was so much fun. We did Christopher Columbus story hour, and we broke it down into 20-minute segments, and we just did that every day for a couple of days, and they just love that. So we do this with the living books, and it's been amazing. I'll give you a full review once we finish using this program, but we're still loving it, going to continue with that. So each one of my kids has a notebook. My preschooler and my first grader, we kind of do all the same things together, whether or not they put their stuff in their book. Really, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but everything stays in their notebooks, and then we put it all together at the end. My second grader does her own thing, and she can cut and paste and put her stuff together. So I can show you just some examples. So Vikings, we did this arts and crafts, and I got this from online. It was just a free printable. There's a lot of biblical verses in here, some copy work, and then they have the coloring pages. We like to use, what are those things called? I forget what they're called. Anyway, we use paints. We use watercolor, regular paint, quick sticks, and we love to use quick sticks. And so they do whatever they like on the pages, and then we just write information based off what we just learned and what we read, and then we fill the pages. And they do this usually while I'm reading, and then we go in and fill in whatever we have to. I add a few pages in if they want more activity to do. Like for Christopher Columbus, my daughter wanted to do this page here, and then some word search. So I filled that in with her. There's Columbus. We even add little books. You can do really anything you want, and this really helps the kids follow along a timeline. We do maps, and so that's a lot of fun. We finished Jamestown, and we took our time with Jamestown because they thought it was extremely interesting, and so did I. So we did a lot more with Jamestown, and we watched a lot of videos about Jamestown, and So that has been great. So now we are on to Pilgrim Stories, and we are loving this book. Every book that we have read so far has been just great for my kids to listen to, not boring at all, really just comes alive, and you feel like you're right there in history during that time, so it's awesome. No changes there. We're going to stick with history. So moving on to science. So for science, we started the year with BJU Press Science 2, and we have stopped right about, so we'd be going into chapter 4. So the way this works is it's set up as a semester program. So you do science one semester, and heritage studies the second semester. So because we do this as a group, I can take a little bit longer with it, but we are pretty much still on chapter 3. So we've read chapter 3, we've done the science experiment, and it's failed a few times, and so my kids still want to kind of do this experiment, and so we're kind of stuck here because we are still planting seeds and we're trying to perfect that. We've added a couple of different things to hopefully make their plants grow. So that's where we're at. So we stopped here. I like this well enough. It's definitely age appropriate for all my kids. The only issue is that they like to really dive in on a subject. When they're interested in something that we've come across in science, they want to learn more and more and more about it. And this just gives a little bit. So, which is fine. It's enough. I think that it's enough for any for this grade. And if you don't want to explore more and go in depth, I think this is fine. There's nothing wrong with the curriculum at all. I love the layout, but I don't know if we're going to continue on with it. We will see, and I'll give you an update on that later on. So that was science. Sorry, I have to drink something. So for Bible, we are using Bible Truths 1 from BJU. I know a lot of people don't like to use a curriculum for Bible, but I find it to be extremely helpful and enjoyable in a homeschool setting. We just love this Bible curriculum. I love that it gives us everything that we need during Bible. We of course do devotionals at night, and we read the Bible, but the way this brings the Bible to life for us is really inspiring, and I really like it. Right now I believe we're on Jacob's Dream. We just did this lesson today, lesson 48. But the way they lay this out, each unit you have memory verses that you're going to be working on for that unit, and each unit has a hymn. So we do hymn study, we do memory verses, and we read directly from the Bible, and then it just puts everything into context for the children's age. So this is first grade, and I'm using it for preschool, first and second. So this works out beautifully. The work text is really simple. We do this together because it's only one page and a few questions. And I didn't think it was necessary to have each child have their own work text. This is just kind of like a review. If they have any questions, this kind of just answers those questions as like a final thing. But I love how they lay this out. We do a hymn, and we're singing the hymn every time we do a lesson. And then in the curriculum, it breaks down the hymn, and then it talks about each one of the verses, and then it applies Bible principles to it. And you look in your Bible and you read about what the Bible says about God's will, for example, and what that means, etc. And then they have application stories. So they'll have a Bible account, and then they'll have an additional story that will kind of confirm what the Bible said and what the Bible story is about, but then put it in a more realistic setting for a child to understand. So yeah, there's just absolutely nothing that I would change about it. We really love it, and we're going to continue on with it. So that is Bible. So for our read aloud, we are doing Paddington, A Bear Called Paddington. This is the new one that we're going to read this week. And this one I decided, if I can find it, I decided I would pick up the Teacher's Guide from Memoria Press. This is just the Teacher's Guide, so it basically has a lot of different questions you can ask, discussion questions. There's quotations from the stories, there's comprehension, enrichment, vocabulary. If you're using Memoria Press's curriculum, this would, obviously go with a student guide, and you would, the student would probably read this. I think this is in their first grade curriculum, if I'm not mistaken. And, the student would read this and then do the student guide, and then this would just be the key for that, but we're not going to use it that way. This is just going to be our read aloud, and I wanted to have this for a couple of reasons. I wanted to check out Memoria Press's literature guides, and then I also wanted to read the book, so I thought it would go hand in hand just to give me an idea. Also, if you are anything like me and forget what you've read easily, which I often do, and my kids always remind me, like, that's not what happened, or I thought this happened and not that. But anyway, I like that this can kind of give me some answers to questions, so I can test them without having to recall for myself. I know it's a lazy way, but anyway, this is going to work out fine, so I'll let you know how that goes. So a few things that we are adding to the second semester that's also going to roll into next year for us is some enrichment. So we haven't really done much enrichment, and so I wanted to incorporate a few things. So we decided to do music enrichment, and this is from Memoria Press. So we're going to do music, poetry, and art appreciation from them. So this is their music enrichment guide. This goes all the way through second grade, and what this has is just a week by week of a composer and music, and online they have a playlist, and you just listen to the composer. This gives a brief bio and some questions you can ask about the composer. You can answer some questions about the composer. So that's that. This is like a really small chunk to have to do, but I think it's going to be perfect. So we started in kindergarten because we haven't done this before. So we're going to use that from Memoria Press. We are also doing their poetry enrichment. So they have this as a book for their poetry enrichment for kindergarten. So we will be reading this, A Child's Book of Poems, and I'm just going to go through their classical core curriculum enrichment guide. I never really thought of myself as a classical person, but I'm realizing that there's a lot of classical aspects that I like and want to incorporate in our homeschool. So that's going to be for poetry. And for art, we are using these art cards. So these are the 5x7 art cards that they have. I won't show you too much, not to give it all away, but it has a little description on the back of the art that you're going to be looking at, and the enrichment guide will have, let's see, so this is the kindergarten enrichment guide. So this will basically tell me a little bit more about the artist than the card has. So the card has a little bit, and then in here you'll have a little bit more about the artist. And then this just tells me when to do the art, the music, and then the poetry. And there's some additional things to talk about in here. So that's why I got the guide. I don't plan on using their curriculum right now anyway, but I wanted to start in kindergarten because I really liked what I saw for them for art and poetry and music. They also have nature studies. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate that because we already use Christian Liberty Press's nature readers, and my kids really love those. And we're working our way through that whole series. So that's what we do for nature studies. So I'll let you know how this goes. We are waiting on the poster cards that go with this. So there'll be a bigger one, and I'm not sure of the size that I display, and then these will be laminated and the kids can just have these to hold when we're doing art appreciation. And this, of course, has it laid out. I don't know if you do one artist a week or two or however many, but I'll figure that out as we are going through this book. But anyway, you guys, that is it for my update. I'm sorry if this ran really long. If you have any questions about any of the things that I've shown you today, please comment down below and I'll try my best to answer you. If not, I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks.